Nick Walker versus Derek Lunsford.
Coach Jason Capson here.
So let's jump right into this. I've been wanting to do this for a little while, but some crazy news in the bodybuilding world, as we all know, came up with Sebum competing in the Prague Open Bodybuilding. But I just wanted to come back to this because I've made it very clear, in my opinion, of Nick Walker. I don't think Nick will ever win the Mr. Olympia. Now, the Nick Walker fans out there will obviously be very upset to hear this, but I have said it a few times, and there's some reasons for that, especially based on what we're seeing with the new, what I call the new era of men's open bodybuilding, when you've got competitors like Martin Fitzwater, when you've got competitors like Samson Dauda, you've got Hadi, you've got Derek. And I just wanted to take a minute to share with you and show you pose versus pose between Derek Lunsford and Nick Walker. And these photos are coming from their 2024 competitions. So as we know, in 2024, Derek competed in the Mr. Olympia and finished third place. So the former Mr. Olympia finished in third place this year. And these photos are pulled from that third place finish. And next to that, we've got Nick Walker at his only appearance in 2024, Olympia qualifier, the New York Pro. And these photos were pulled from the New York Pro. So let's jump right in and do a fair analysis, pose versus pose, of Nick Walker versus Derek Lunsford in 2024. And I think this is a great comparison because those of you that are saying that Nick Walker is going to be the next Mr. Olympia, well, let's just have a look. Let's start with the front double biceps pose, and let's compare from the ground up. As you know, that's how we do it. And you start with the legs. And the legs on both of these guys, they're pretty comparable. I mean, Nick, from in this pose anyways, Nick had pretty good legs. The veins have always been an issue for Nick, as everybody knows. But we're not going to necessarily judge based on who has more veins, who has less veins. We're just going to base it on the size, the shape, the definition, which is, again, in open bodybuilding, size matters, shape matters. Symmetry should matter, but oftentimes it doesn't. But we're going to go with symmetry, and we're going to go with conditioning. So as far as conditioning goes, both of these gentlemen in these two shots have great conditioning in their legs, great size in their legs. So I'm going to say that in the legs department, this is pretty much a toss-up. If I was to give an edge, honestly, the edge would probably go to Nick slightly in the front, in the legs. Now, then we hit the waist. And this is where everything kind of goes bad for Nick. That blocky waist, that distended stomach that he has always had and continues to struggle with. When you look at Derek's waist, it's very tight, very flat, incredible shoulder to waist ratio. Nick just does not have that. Does Nick have the better biceps? Absolutely. Nick has probably some of the best biceps in all of men's open bodybuilding. I don't think anybody could argue that. His biceps are absolutely perfection. I would say that Derek has the best lats in men's open bodybuilding. I don't think anybody could argue with that. So from the front, when you just look at the overall package, lats and biceps and chest, shoulders, the tiny waist, the legs, which are very, very close, you have to give this pose to Derek Lunsford. Derek Lunsford just has a better shape, more pleasing aesthetics. And if you break it down body part for body part, Derek just wins. His conditioning is on point. Everything looks great. He looks like a former Mr. Olympia champion. Now, I just got to point this out too, because I don't know what this is or why this continues to happen, but Nick's white face needs to, they need to stop. I don't know what the deal is there. I know it doesn't matter, and there's still competitions all over the world where they don't spray the face, they don't tan the face. But it just looks weird to me. It just looks odd. I don't know why they do do that. It looks like a floating head on top of a body. Match your face, put some makeup, do whatever. I don't care what you got to do, but match your face better than that. Is distracting. Again, it doesn't necessarily take points away from the competitor, but I think if it's distracting and looks odd, then the judges, it has to affect the judges to some degree anyways, but just my own personal thing, tan your face. If you're going to go into a pro show, tan your face, wash it off after. I don't know what the deal is there, but it looks a little strange. But the front double biceps pose, that's what matters here today. Front double biceps pose, I give this pose to Derek because in the front double biceps pose, it's not just about the biceps. As you know, it's more than just the biceps. If it were just biceps, Nick would win this pose easily, but it's not. It's a lot more than that. And Derek brings a complete package when it comes to the front double biceps pose. Second pose, side chest. Now, again, we are going to start from the ground up. And when you look at the definition in the legs from the side, this is where Derek does beat Nick. Nick's legs don't look as good from the side as Derek's do. Derek has a lot more definition. There's a lot more separation. He's got better glutes, better hamstring. He just has a better side leg than Nick. Moving up, you've got basically similar conditioning. I would say Derek has a little bit of an edge when it comes to striations in his chest, which is interesting because he's always been kind of critiqued about that. He's always been sort of the negative when it comes to Derek's side chest is that he doesn't show enough striations in his chest. And I think this year he did bring it up at the Olympia, and I think it looked much better. And I think I would give the side chest pose to Derek because of that. His striations in his chest are better. His legs a lot better. Arms are pretty similar in this side chest pose. I like the way that Nick does the pose, but I think Derek just looks better again in this pose. Smaller waist. It all matters from head to toe. Side chest pose goes to Derek Lunsford. Side triceps pose. I couldn't get a shot from the New York Pro of Nick doing a proper side triceps pose. Same with Derek. I mean, I know there's some shots out there, but this is what I pulled from the NPC site. And they both do a similar kind of variation of the side triceps pose. Again, from the side, Derek's legs look better. Derek's chest is more striated. I think, again, Nick's arms are a little bit bigger. I don't know that necessarily wins this pose, though, because I think Derek just does this pose a little bit better than Nick does. Now, again, even if this was a toss-up, if this was a tie, which I'm perfectly fine giving them a tie in this pose, you still have to go back to conditioning because conditioning does matter. It should matter. It should always matter. Conditioning, it's not just about size. It's a combination of it all. And, was Samson Dauda the most conditioned athlete at the Mr. Olympia this year? No, he wasn't. Hadi was. Hadi was definitely the most conditioned, and he always is. But when you look at the entire package, head to toe, and the criteria for men's open bodybuilding, I don't think anyone's going to complain that the Mr. Olympia title was given to Samson Dauda. Now, again, we're talking here right now. This is Nick Walker against the third place finisher. And right now, I've got 2 poses to Derek and a tie, if we go with a tie in this pose, between Derek and Nick. This is not looking good for Nick, guys. Back, double biceps pose. Again, there's no one on the planet that has a better back than Derek Lunsford right now. Derek Lunsford has the back to beat in open bodybuilding, and you just have to look. I mean, just look at this back double biceps pose. Derek has the best back in men's open bodybuilding. Nick's back double biceps pose is fine. He's worked on his back development. His biceps from the back are absolutely incredible. I think his conditioning, his hamstrings look really good here. His glutes, his calves look great. But again, if you go over to Derek, Derek's glutes are very tight. They're striated. He doesn't show his hamstrings quite as good in this pose as Nick does, but then you go to the back and Derek just blows him out of the water. This is not even fair, to be honest with you. Not even close. Back double biceps pose goes to Derek Lunsford. Then we go to the back lat spread. And again, in all fairness to Nick, this is not even a fair comparison. Derek does have by far the best lat spread, the best lats in all of men's open bodybuilding as of right now. So this pose again goes to Derek. Derek wins the back every day, probably wins the back pose in almost in any competition on the planet against pretty much anyone. But it takes more than a back to win Mr. Olympia, which is why Derek finished third this year at the Mr. Olympia and not first again. But we're comparing, this is again the thing, this is why Nick will never win Mr. Olympia. Because if Nick can't beat the third place finisher, Derek was the third place finisher this year. So we're comparing Nick Walker to the third place finisher. Never mind the second place in the first place. We're comparing him to the third place finisher, and he can't even beat that. Nick Walker, now, was he on point at the New York Pro? Not necessarily. Was he going to come in, or could he have come in better condition at the Mr. Olympia? Well, that's a debate that we could debate that all day long. We will never know. But even if he did come in a little bit better, he still couldn't beat Derek. Not from the back, not from the front. And Derek finished third. So Nick Walker, I don't think has a chance. I don't think he has a chance ever to win the Mr. Olympia. Like, let's just be honest. Most muscular. Let's give this one to Nick. Just because I'm feeling charitable. Is it a better most muscular pose than what Derek has? Not necessarily. I think they both have great shoulders. I think Derek has more striations in his chest. I think their abs look good. I think their quads look good. Nick's conditioning's on point. I think everything's fantastic there. But I think once again, if we give this pose a tie, then we are still in the same predicament. I have not given Nick one pose in the entire thing. And again, his white face really is distracting. The faces he makes is another thing, but he's got to match the tan of his face. I hope the next competition he does that. But that's really it. That is all. You cannot have a Mr. Olympia that has these many issues. The issues that Nick has, the blocky waist, the distended stomach, the back is not even close to a third place finisher. Again, Derek finished third at the Olympia this year, and we're comparing his third place finish to Nick Walker's first place finish at the New York Pro. Would Nick have come in better at the Mr. Olympia? I don't know. I doubt it, but we'll never know because that's the second year in a row that Nick qualified for the Mr. Olympia and did not show up. So it is what it is. That's it. That's all. Coach Jason Capson signing out.